Hi, everybody. Welcome to the fourth Thursday live readings. We used to do this weekly on Mondays, and then it switched during the day, my time. And then we switched to um, every month. And then I stopped for a while, and now we're on the fourth Thursday. So, I'm just trying to see how I can see your comments. Oh, hang on. And we're also streaming on three different platforms. My student Facebook page, it's a private group, my business Facebook page, and then YouTube as well, Golden Rose's YouTube channel. Ah, there we go. All right. I found the comments. Somebody commented and it flashed on the screen. This isn't, hi everybody. This is a new platform for me. So I had my healing master make sure everything works. Now, in regards to that, my laptop has been restarting itself. So if that happens, hey Sue, I love you. Thank you so much. If my laptop restarts, I'll come right back in. So just hold tight on whichever platform you're streaming from. So it's going to be a regular fourth Thursday. I have something every Thursday night, so I thought since the fourth Thursday was unoccupied, I would go ahead and hey Marco, it's good to see you. Hi everybody. Okay, so the way I do this historically, and I'm gonna continue to do it this way, is I'm not gonna answer questions. And I know that might seem weird to some people because, and I'll tell you why I don't, because you don't want everybody to hear the answer. There's a thing called confidentiality. So every month there's a topic. And so this month, and also, I don't know if you noticed the room I'm in. If you have worked with me before, you realize I'm not in my home office. I'm staying with one of my psychic friends, and this is her Egyptian room, as you can tell. There's a lot of Kuan Yin is right behind me. I like that. You can see all the crystals. There's crystals everywhere here. So it should be a great environment for tonight's readings. So without further ado, what we're going to look at this month are your guides and angels. Now, if you have been on my live streams before, I might have introduced you to one of your guides and angels. Maybe some other psychic has, maybe you know some of yours. So there's a caveat. This will be one that you haven't met before. And what we would say is that you're unconsciously working with them. So we're going to make it conscious tonight, and I'm going to tell you who they are, what they do for you, probably why you have them, and we're going to talk about that before we get going, and how to work with them, right? So you can, I know for me, my guides, some of them are my best friends, especially Anki Yaya. It's so funny because Anki Yaya stands behind me and he's Egyptian. So I'm feeling like this is very great room for Anki Yaya. So let's talk about why we have them. Haven't you ever wondered that? See, I'm like a 3-year-old, right? In all of my spiritual and metaphysical inquiries. I want to know why. Why would we have guides and angels? So I'm going to give you a little metaphysical background on it. Our soul, and the astral plane is over here for me, and this is the earth plane. So when you see me pointing in one direction, you'll know maybe why. Oh, that's a really good question. Do we all have healing masters? Oh, you see, I love this. And another thing, I'm not sure I can scroll through these comments on the platform I'm using, but does everybody have a healing master? No. No. So what a healing master is, hi everybody, is a being without a body who has been trained on the astral plane to work with people who are trained the way I am. And the way I got him and the way everybody in this technique gets them is our teacher watches as our higher self contracts in with them. So basically, they know our technique. Now, do you all have guides who are healers? Absolutely. And maybe some of those will come through tonight. And so basically, what a healing guide would do would be to heal you and other people. But let's digress again. Our higher self is an eternal consciousness that exists on the astral plane, the real world, forever. This earth plane isn't real. You might think of it as a virtual reality, a video game. Okay, so part of our higher self comes into our bodies, and it's supposed to be able to control the body. Basically, control the body and have it live through the contracts our higher self is interested in experiencing. And if you've ever been exposed to religion, this is a common theme of religions. The spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, right? So the part of our higher self that comes into our body, I call it our awareness. Let's say your higher self is as big as the moon. The part of it that comes into you might be the size of a ping pong ball. Okay. So again, that awareness is supposed to get the body to live through the contracts that the higher self is writing. Probably a lot of you saw me on Gaia. Okay. So my higher self wrote a contract for me to be on Gaia. And let's say I'm too afraid. I'm a fraidy cat. I don't want to do that. So the awareness inside of me is trying to get me to release the fear to do it. But sometimes it can't. So what the higher self does is it writes another contract with a type of being that can come into the earth plane and shift our chakras to get us to do it. So that's why we have guides and angels. But another part inherent in that is that we're the boss. Here on earth, we are the boss. To kind of divide it up so we can understand, our higher self can take its name on and off any contract it wants to, because that's its free will. Our free will over here on the earth side is to decide what contract we want to live through. And this became very obvious to me during the pandemic. How many endless walks did you take to nowhere? I remember I walked out of my house, I walked to the intersection, and I stood there and I said, I could turn left, I could turn right, I could go straight forward, I could turn around, go home, I'm sick of walking, or I could just stand here. That's 5 contracts. Okay. So in that moment, so if I turned left, something was going to happen. If I turned right, something else was going to happen. If I went forward, backward, stood there, something different would happen. Okay. So when you meet your guide or angel tonight, you don't have to do what they tell you. So many of my clients think, if I could just hear my guides, my life would be fantastic. Well, maybe, but maybe not. So when I tell you who they are and what they do for you, what I'm really doing is I'm reading the contract that your higher self signed with them and what they're supposed to come over to the earth and do to you. Okay. And in knowing that, you'll know what they know. So let's say I'm thinking about buying Bitcoin. Okay. I've never bought Bitcoin. I don't really even understand what it is, but maybe you do. So let's say I all of a sudden could talk to one of my guides and I ask them, should I buy Bitcoin? And they're like, I don't know. I'm supposed to remind you to brush and floss your teeth every night. That's what my contract is. So that's why it's so important to know what they know. In other words, how to work with them. Okay. So I'm going to read one of your guides and angels that your higher self has contracted in with for a specific job or role um, in your life. And hopefully you'll start working with them consciously. Okay. Before we get going, I'm going to post a link, and I would really appreciate it if you could fill out this form. How do I do that? Right here. It's a healing request. We don't even take your email address, so we're not going to mark it to you. But this is for my advanced clairvoyant students. And they do a free healing request every week of their 5-month training. So all you do, and you can fill ones out for other people too, all we need to know is their name and what the healing request is, because we key in on names. That's the way we roll. So if it resonates with you, and you'd like to get a healing on any part of your life, and again, we won't ever contact you. We don't share the information with anybody. It just gives the advanced students a chance to practice and you a chance to get a healing. Okay, that's enough talking. Ugh. Okay, now, as I mentioned, I'm used to doing this stream on Facebook Live, and I could scroll back through the comments on this platform. I can. Oh, okay, Alkia. Thank you. He goes, put your finger on the button and scroll. You can. Never mind. Okay, let's get going. All right. Ben. Yes, Ben. Your last name starts with an M. I can see your comment. You're the first person. I'm kind of working with different crystals today. Very interesting. So anyway, let me get plugged in here, Ben, and I'm going to tell you. Okay, let's see. Oh, this is a wizard. I love that. It's a wizard. It takes the valence of a wizard. And as I mentioned, I don't call them guides and angels. I call them beings without bodies. So that body that I'm looking at is made up because whatever it does, it relates to you best as if it was a wizard. Okay, his name's Ted. You think he was going to be a wizard, it'd be something better than Ted. Anyway, let's see what he does for you. Okay, I love this. Okay, you know our boring 3D life, right? We get up in the morning, we do our morning cleanup, feeding, we go usually to work, we come home, watch TV or read a book, go to sleep only to get up and do it again. So what Ted does for you, Ben, he puts you into a magical world. And I love that. I see this to my clairvoyant students all the time. Wouldn't you rather live in a magical world? And what a magical world that Ted could create for you, Ben, is if you talk to him, work with him. And again, what he's supposed to do, you might think of it as stimulation or to get you out of ruts or boredom. I'll tell you one way to work with him that comes up for me, and I do this. I did it even before the pandemic. I would go out of my house and I would tell my guides and angels, I want you to put a treasure on my path. It's something that means something, right? Some sign. Maybe I'll see a license plate or a certain bird will fly over, right? I want to go on a walk and I want something magical to happen, and I'll know it when I see it. I remember doing that one time, and I live right off of a canyon. And so I was walking through the canyon and there was a lizard skin there. And just like a kindergartner, I took a stick and I stabbed it, and I come walking home with this lizard skin. I put it into a little plastic box and I put it where I meditate. And for me, it was a sign of me transforming, shedding my skin, becoming something new. Okay. So Ben, for you, thinking of ways to use Ted, the wizard, to stimulate your life, right? Maybe even like say you're going to sit down and stream something. Say, hey, Ted, I want you to help me find something. I don't know about you guys, but the shows I watch always mean something. They have an inner meaning, right? Well, anything that whether we're surfing the net or listening to people talk or people watching, which is one of my favorite things. I love people watching. So, especially if you feel bored or complacent or like, oh God, not another day in the 3D world, talk to Ted. You might think of it this way: he's an adventure maker. Adventure. That's really been up for me lately, is having adventures. So, and what I feel like I need to say about especially this one, but probably all of the guides, all of you will be meeting this stream. You might be thinking, well, how do I communicate with them? For me, I just know. Like, for example, picking the topic for tonight's live stream. I said, Uncle Yaya, what should I do? And I didn't let my brain go, I could do this, or I could do that, or I could do this. I just went, oh, we're going to read spirit guides. Okay, that came just bang right into my head. So for you, Ben, right, how do I get Ted to take me on an adventure? Well, first of all, tell him I'm ready for my adventure, right? If you decide to go for a walk in the park or look at your streaming platforms or something like that, and you'll just stumble onto it. So asking him, and then as you're doing it, go, thanks, dude, this is really cool, right? And the more you work with them, the more potent their work with you will become. So I guess, Ben, we could say your higher self is afraid you're getting bored. It wants to spice things up for you. So good luck with Ted, the wizard. Okay, Susan Smith. Hi, my friend. I don't think I've seen you since we were live streaming last. Thank you for popping in. Okay, hang on. You know the drill. I got to get myself all plugged in. Okay, this is an angel, a cherub. This is a self-love being, a being that's supposed to, again, was contracted in by your higher self to foster your self-love. And I feel the reason that it's trying to look like a baby angel, because there's a lot of childlike stuff. One thing I think this cherub, let me get her name, it's Alice. Ted and Alice, whatever. I feel what Alice is capable of is taking some of those things that, before you got old and people started, criticizing and, all that kind of stuff from your childhood, the things that you loved to do that made you feel good about yourself. Okay, so let's see how you work with her. You know what she suggests is a deck of affirmation cards. Now, I don't have any, so I can't really give you a reference or a referral on that. I might go to Amazon and put in self-love affirmation cards and see what comes up. But she'll pick the card for you that day, right? So that's her name. If you catch a glimpse of her, she's a cherub, and she's going to be pulling things from your childhood forward into present time that, maybe you'll feel more like playing things. Maybe you'll get some Play-Doh or, something like that. So that's how to work with her. But let's talk more about self-love. I had an epiphany. Oh, I don't know. Time fleets for me, so I have such a hard time recently about self-love. I always thought that it was a feeling that would come over a person, right? So I thought, well, if that's it, I don't have it. So I better work on my self-love. And I thought that for probably a decade, right? And then all of a sudden, I realized that self-love isn't an emotion, it's an action. And that really helped me define it and propagate it in my life, right? I know I need to take certain supplements, right? Sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't want to take my vitamins. Oh, wait a minute. This is an act of self love. Yes, of course, I'm going to take this. I'm going to feel really good about myself. So, if any of you out there were like me and thought that self love was this feeling that some people have, they're like, oh, I'm so wonderful. And you thought, oh, I don't have that. Maybe try to put it into that context for a while and see how that works for you. So acts of self-love, wellness things, drink enough water, right? Get enough sleep, buy new clothes, but do it with the intention of this is an act of self-love. So good luck with that. All right, Susan, I hope that helps you. Thank you so much for popping in. Okay, I'm going to read Marco. Okay, Marco, thanks for popping in. Okay, let's see. Let me get grounded here and let's see. Okay, this is a big hitter. Let's see who it is. I think it's Jesus. Yeah, and it's the Ascended Master Jesus. And where he appears is in between the worlds. I don't know what that means yet, but literally, he's in between the worlds. I mentioned earlier that over here is the astral plane, like when I read. So there's your higher self, your Akashic records, your contracts. Over here's the earth plane. Right straight ahead of me is in between the worlds. So he's standing right there. So let me talk to him for a minute. Okay, what he says is that, Marco, that your true nature is Christ-like. The true Christ energy. I know nowadays sometimes when you hear somebody's a Christian, you think, yeah, right? But no, true Christ energy, Christ consciousness. That's the first thing he said, that your true nature is very close to his frequency. So let's see what else he says. Okay, well, without being too, I don't know, personal, what he's communicating is that he knows it's been hard for you. Yeah. And he wants to first validate you that it has been hard. Maybe working with him and other ascended masters might be beneficial. But let's see how he says to work with him. Keep him near you. So I have 13 beings without bodies that I'm aware of. All the other hundreds of them I'm unconscious to. But Ankiyaya stands behind this shoulder. So funny, he's right there. And Jesus stands behind this shoulder. So I work with them too. So maybe, have a certain part around your energy field where you have him standing. Like again, that's what I like to do with mine. Each of them in a certain orientation from my body. Some are in the earth under me, some are above my aura. So I always know right where they are. I can go, oh, there you are, there you are, there you are. Right. So Jesus suggests keep him close and have him come in and give you a healing when you want to. But I know you'll know how to incorporate this into your life. I have to tell you, I was raised Christian, and so for many decades, I was what I called a recovering Christian. And Jesus is actually my ascension guide. I wrote an ascension workshop a long, long time ago, and as Anki Yaya was helping me write it, he goes, "You know what? I think we should get an ascension guide for everybody." So I said, "Okay." So I went ahead. Of course, I have to do it first. So I created a space, and I said, "Okay, my ascension guide, come and stand right here where I told him to stand." It was behind me. I said, stand behind me. Let me see you." And the only thing I could see were these long electric blue legs. Remember, they don't have bodies. Like what do you call it? Like a suit of armor. You know how the legs and the feet. That's the only thing I saw. That's how they were shaped, and they were electric blue. And I said, "Okay, well, who are you?" And he said, Jesuit. I'm like, nope. Mm-mm, nope. If you want a biblical name, I'll call you Jedediah. Okay, that I'll call you that. Because remember, they don't have names either. If we were to see and hear them truly, they would be orbs of energy. You ask what their name is, and it would be a frequency of sound. They take an appearance and a name so that we can relate to them. So I said, no Jesuit, Jedediah. He goes, okay, but my name is Jesuit. I said, okay, Jedediah. So I've been working with him for 2 weeks. Every single time, electric blue legs. And finally, I remember coming home and sitting on my couch and said, okay, who are you? And he said, Jesus. And I cried. I got my Jesus back. So he always stands behind me. One other funny story. Along the way, some people have asked me if I'm a follower of Christ, right? And I give them a flippant answer. I said, well, actually, he's following me because he's standing behind me. So anyway, Marco, have fun with your Jesus. And he does acknowledge what you've been through and is here to give comfort. Yeah. All right. I hope that helps. Okay, Sue. Hi, my friend. So the way I do this, guys, is I spin my mouse. I call it spinning the wheel of fortune. Okay. Basically, everyone who's going to get a reading tonight, you know why? Because your higher self and my higher self signed a contract. Yeah. And I just spin the wheel. Okay, Sue, hang on. Let me get plugged in here. Okay. This is really a force of nature, is what I feel. The valence, I'm not sure where this reference comes from in my memory. I think it might be from a children's book where there's the winds, the west wind, and it was just, it's a picture book. And up in the corner was this like big cloud thing that was the west wind, and it would blow. That's what, and that's similar to what this being is trying to look like. That's why I said a force of nature. Okay, let me get his name. It's very close to Hercules. Very close to Hercules. Of course, we all know the demigod, right? Half human, half god. So let's see how to work with him. He wants to be above you. Yeah, he wants to ride above your energy field. Okay, and let's see exactly. So keep him there. That's how you work with him. Keep him right on. If this is where your aura ends, he'll be right above it. Okay, now let's see what he does. I feel you might call him maybe a protection guide. What I think he does is he clears the space on the outside of your aura. Okay, so kind of holding space for you, right? Giving you room on the earth plane. Um, you know, not so much in Southern California because we don't really have bugs, but places I've visited that have bugs, they shoot the air down from the doorways so when you go in the bugs don't come in. That's what he's like. He pushes energy down like the west wind, pushes the energy down right on the outside of your aura, and kind of clears that space. So that's why I say it's kind of like a protection being. Yeah, Hercules. So I like that for you. All right. Okay. JLF. I think that's Joan. Hang on. Let me get plugged in. Or Jody, sorry. Hang on. Okay, let's see. This is a woman from an older time. If I were to say, I would say Victorian, the Victorian time. I only see her face. She looks like a postage stamp. She doesn't really take a whole body. But let's see what she has to say. Okay, she actually lived in that time. And I feel what she is a female power being. She lived through it. She lived through not having much power at all. Right. So, um, your higher self must feel that in some ways, in many ways, the patriarchal energy is really affecting some of the contracts it wants you to live through. Now, I can really relate to this because as an engineer back then, I was the only female in the room. And I, believe me, you hear women say it all the time, if you're too forceful, you're a bitch. Right. So there's always this fine line to be walking, not to hurt any, not to damage any egos around you. So it might be something like that, Jody. That's what I feel. Um, so let me get her name. It's Mary. Yeah. But she did live through the Victorian times as a woman with very little power, very little power. So she knows. Yeah. So let's see how you work with her. I think in meditation, just have her come in and give you a healing. And the healing is to release you from the patriarchal programming and pressure that you're under, that all of us are under. It doesn't matter what color your skin is, what your gender is, what language you speak. The patriarchal pressure is immense. And then especially in those moments where you do need to assert yourself. Yeah, when you all of a sudden start to get back on your heels and go, oh, if I was a man, fill in the blank. She helps you through those times. Maybe another way of saying it is female power. I don't know. But yeah, that's her. Okay, let's spin the wheel. Anne. Hi, Anne. Good to see you, my friend. Stendhal. That if there's another Anne in here, this is the one. Okay, let's see. I'm getting all plugged in. Let's see. Okay, this being comes in as, I'm going to say, either Native American or African warrior. It's got like a spear or something that's trying to look like a spear. Let's see. Okay, one of the ways to work with them is drumming, a cadence. Boom, 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 boom. Let's see. You've had a lot of past lives where drumming and dancing to the drums and maybe even shamanic journey, because that's all done with a drum. Um, so this, so from your soul's perspective, this is very familiar to it. Let's see. I believe it's a healing. Let's see what it does. What the drumming does, right? Let's see. Yeah, it's an energy healing. It shifts your chakras. Okay, let me get its name. Well, for simplicity's sake, it's IKE. Ike, IKE. But I feel that might even be abbreviations or an acronym for a very long name. So go with Ike, right? So if it resonates with you, start, join a drumming circle. Yeah, I think I've done a drumming circle a few times. Of course, all the great drummers are playing really loud, and I'm like, but it was fantastic. I even did a shamanic journeying workshop way back in the day, and that was really interesting. Yeah, maybe you can look up and see if there's a shamanic journeying workshop in your area coming up. But the way to work with them is to, put on drum music or drum yourself and ask him to give you a healing, because what it does is it shifts your chakras. Yeah. So, and remember what I said at the beginning, the whole reason that higher self would contract in with something that could come to earth and be a guide is to shift our chakras. Yeah, to get us to do those great contracts. Yeah, so Ike. That's a fun one. Okay. Next up is Jacqueline Grapevine LaPointe. Well, that's a great name. Hang on. I'm just writing people's names down so I don't double dip. let me get, let's see. Okay. This is a little boy. And it's interesting because, very interesting to me. I feel what he does is helps you nurture. Maybe I might say it this way: things that you nurture, plants, animals, people, yourself. This guide, um, I'm going to say it this way, has taught you how to do that. Because when I first interact with him, he thinks you're his mother. Yeah, so all of your nurturing skills have been enhanced by him. He taught you how to nurture. And I always like to tell people when I'm reading them, I might say something that to everybody else sounds really weird. And in my experience reading, I read that all the time. And then other things that I say that you might think, oh, well, that's kind of common. No, that a being without a body that your higher self contracted in to help you be a nurturer, I have never heard of that. Ever. Okay, so I feel that the name that comes up is Johnny. I feel that Johnny has been working with you since you were young, like your whole incarnation. Yeah. So maybe the way I would work with him if it were me and I knew I had a nurturer guide, I might, at times when I am nurturing, have him help me. My dad, he's in his mid 80s. At the beginning of this year, he fell and broke his neck. That was a lot of nurturing. He's fine. He can move. He's not paralyzed or anything, but he couldn't swallow. Right. So I had to help my mom feed him through a tube in his stomach. So it took infinite patience. So I could have used a Johnny at that point. Yeah. And I think you can even send him to go nurture, like if you were me and I was going to visit my dad in the hospital, I would say, Johnny, go ahead of me and start to nurture my father. So when I get there, he's pretty much nurtured up. I got to tell you too, I was really close to his mother, and she drove him crazy because she was pretty much a hypochondriac, and he's exactly become her. It's so amazing. Okay, and he knows it. He even mentioned it. Mary Ortiz. Hello. Let me just jot your name down, Murray. Okay, let's get to it. Hang on. Okay, let's see. Oh, this is another big hitter because it shows up right between the worlds, right up here again. So we're either looking at an archangel or an ascended master. So let's see who this is. I think it's the archangel Ariel. Now, the great thing about the archangels and the ascended masters is so many artists have channeled images of them. So when I start to work with one, I do work with Ariel and I work with Hanel and Metatron. Those are my angels. I go and look on the internet and I get an image that I like and I use that. As a matter of fact, Hanel, I have 3 images of her printed out and stuck above my bedroom window. But this is Ariel. So go look on the internet, find an image, maybe print it out like I did. Let's see what she has to say. Music. Okay, and I've seen this many times. Music is a healer to you. Let her pick the music. Okay, and it's not all just instrumental type stuff. I think there's other music that she would recommend. Think of her as your DJ. Self-healing DJ. Yeah, let her pick your music. And again, a practical way of doing that might just be to tell one of your smart speakers, play a random song and have Ariel pick it. Yeah, that might be a way to use her. Just pick a random song for me. See what happens. Yeah. Music. Ariel. Okay. I hope that helps you. Claire. Claire Sensing. Hi, Claire. I see your question. Are there any career guides that help you on your career path? Yes. Let me tell you the story. So I wanted one. So I told Anki Yaya, I want you to go to the astral, motivate my higher self to write a contract with a career being. And then in meditation, I met them, and they take kind of a weird valence. It doesn't really look like a body. And if it is, it's very, very small. Anyway, when I said, well, what's your name? It said Zephyrus. And when it said Zephyrus, I thought, well, I've heard that word before, you know? And you have to remember, right? I was an engineer. So I don't have this huge education, right? It's not like I'm a lit major and have read all this stuff. No, right? So I'm like, Zephyrus, that's a word I've heard before. So I Googled it and it means warm wind. And I thought, wow, that's interesting that a warm wind would be help Golden Rose. Yeah, yeah. So yes, the answer is yes. Okay, now let's see about one of your guides. Okay, this is an amusement guide, a joker. Yeah, he's supposed to, it looks like a clown, not a creepy clown, a clown on stilts. You know how they do in parades when they're on those stilts? Yeah, let's get his name. Interesting. It's not really a clown. It's Hilarion. That's an ascended master, Hilarion. That's where the word hilarious comes from. Hilarion. Yeah. But he's an amusement guide. He's supposed to tickle your funny bone. Okay, so let's talk about amusement. Amusement is the highest frequency Homo sapiens can run. So, what happens is our energy field, when we're laughing, it expands. And that makes it really easy to move things in and out of it. When we're fussy, afraid, exerting a lot of effort, it collapses and you can't move anything. It's like concrete. As a matter of fact, in my clairvoyant class, that's the main energy that we instill in somebody who's trying to read somebody else. Be amused. Don't take it seriously. Don't exert effort, because as soon as you do, right? So for you, Claire, Hilarion, and look him up, get an image of him. But he's supposed to tickle your funny bone. He's supposed to add to your amusement so your energy field opens up and he can get in there and move things in and out, give you an energetic healing. So maybe a way to work with him is to say, hey, I want to stream something, right? I want to stream a comedy. And as you're looking through, you'll go, oh, that one. I'm going to watch that one. And that's how he would suggest one to you. Yeah. Remember I said at the beginning is that this reality isn't real. It's an unreal reality, or a virtual reality, or a video game. And instilled into the technique that I'm using to read you, it's so important to realize that there's a urban legend in this teaching that somebody who's trained the way I am went into a bank. And of all things, the bank was held up while they were in there. Here come the gunmen, everybody on the floor. And this person realized this isn't real. What a weird contract I'm living through right now. And they started to laugh. laugh out loud. Like, I can't believe this is happening. This can't be real. And the way the story goes is the bandits were so taken back by that reaction they left. I don't know if it's true, but it's a pretty good story that really emphasizes the importance of amusement. So have fun with that. Literally have fun with that. Okay, Jolie Frank. Hi, Jolie. Okay. I also want to tell you, because Anki Yaya just told me to tell you, that I've uploaded onto Golden Rose's YouTube channel all the old live streams. And probably a lot of you that are listening have found something of interest that I said, even though I didn't read for you. So you might want to go back. It's Golden Rose, I think Golden Rose Psychic Services on YouTube. I think I used the whole name. Yeah. So anyway, okay, Jolie, let's get to you. Okay, let's see. This guy comes in as a bird. It's blue. It's a blue bird. Let's see. It reminds me of, wasn't it Snow White, where she's singing with all the birds and land on her finger, that kind of thing. It's not, I don't really feel it's a bluebird of happiness. I don't feel that's the metaphor for this. What I feel like it is when I see blue, when I'm reading, it's a healing energy. A healing needs to make a change. And what I feel this bird represents, or the energy that it's running, is daring. It's to be daring. Go out on a limb, go out of your comfort zone for a healing. Yeah. It's funny because the example I gave earlier was that when my higher self signed the contract for Gaia, that, I had to be daring. I had to get out there, right? Anyway, let me give you the name that it wants. It's Tito, and I think that's a sound. But the way to work with them is when you need courage. Yeah, it just flies around. It flits around you. But this is a courage guide. That when you're presented with an opportunity, and it could be many, many different types of opportunities. It could be something that happens at the grocery store, right? That Tito gives you the daring to live through the contract that your higher self wrote for you. Yeah. You guys, some of you might be like me. I don't like confrontation. I don't do well in confrontation. Mostly I don't say anything. And then after the confrontation's over that I didn't even participate in, I come home, I'm like, why didn't I say that? Why didn't I say this? This would have been a great thing to say. So if you're like me, Jolie, Tito would help you in the moment to react appropriately, to act and react appropriately to your contracts, especially when you feel that you're kind of back on your heels and like, oh, I don't know if I should say anything. Let him flit around you and then decide. Doesn't mean you have to. Yeah. So I hope that helps. Okay, let me spin the wheel of fortune. Aphim. Okay. I see you might have put a lot of comments, but I see you're from New Mexico. Okay, so hang on, let me get plugged in and let's see who this is. Oh yeah, this definitely is a protection being. Yeah, if you trot this thing out in front of you, yeah, you will be protected. Well, maybe it looks like a transformer, but when it walks, it goes boom, boom, boom. So, of course, if your higher self is contracted in with a protection being, it's not going to look like a butterfly or a unicorn. No, this thing is formidable. Let me give you, I think it's male. Let's see what its name is. Oh, that's so weird. Shivago. Like Dr. Shivago. Shivago. That's so weird to me. You know, I might look that name up and see what it means. Like with Zephyrus, when I told you that one guide I had, and I'm like, wait a minute, I've heard that word before. What does it really mean? Shivago. I know it's a last name, but you know, the origins of the name. Yeah. So anyway, let's see how you work with it. It stays pretty close to you. So if you wanted to, um, okay, I'm just going to make something up. Let's say somebody wanted to pick a fight with you. You've been in conflict with them, and you know that a confrontation is coming down down the road at you. It doesn't really seem that you send it over there. It seems like he stays pretty close to you. And the reason I'm splitting that hair is because of the image I'm looking at, right? It doesn't want to go out and do stuff. It wants to stay really close to your energy field. Let's see. And I feel that this was contracted in either junior high or high school. Yeah. So all the times that you maybe should have really, you know, what's the right word? Had a hard time, you know what I mean? You didn't because of Shivago. So I have a story about my housemate. She had a motorcycle long time ago. I've known her for 40 years. This is before I knew her. And she was driving and she could see that she was going to get in an accident, that this car had pulled out in front of her. She knew it was imminent. So she said, what I told myself is just don't hit the asphalt. I just don't want to hit the ground. And what happened was the car knocked the motorcycle right out from between her legs, and she's just standing in the street like this. The motorcycle just went, psht, and she's just standing there. So that's the story that reminds me of Shivago. At times when you could have really, really gotten your clock cleaned, the reason you didn't is because of him. So I guess maybe the way I would work with him was just when I felt I needed protection, just to say, okay, Shivago, do your thing, man. Yeah, Shivago. And I've never heard a guy named Shivago. Okay, we've got a time for Judy Watts. Judy. Judy. Judy, the one comment that I'm looking at says you're learning to use the pendulum. Good. Yeah, I love that technique. I use my pendulum, oh, if not daily, at least a couple times a week. For one thing, I pick crystals with them. Tonight I'm reading with Appetite, and I'm not sure what this one's called. I could never, that's why I have to use a pendulum because I can't remember what they're called. Let me bring it up to the camera. Look. So it's definitely got pyrite in it. Isn't that cool? Yeah. So anyway, and then of course I've got my big quartz crystal here. So anyway, let's see. Hang on. This is an angel. I think it's Michael. Yeah. Um, he's playing a trumpet. Where he is, it's kind of like Sue's reading, if you heard that one. It's right over your head. Yeah. And he is playing a horn. And I think Archangel plays a horn. I don't know. There's a church near me where there's an angel blowing a horn on top of it. Anyway, let's see what that horn is all about. Okay. At times when you need to be heard, at times when you have a message to give, a communication, um, Archangel Michael amplifies it for you. You know what this reminds me of? One of my goals as a psychic, one of the things in my head is to be the voice that can be heard. So somebody might tell you ABC, ABC, ABC. All of your friends keep telling you ABC. and you just don't act on it. You might not think it's true. And then you get a reading from me and I say, oh, my friend ABC. Oh my God, I heard it. I heard it, Loren. I got it. Right. That's what Archangel Michael does. He helps you communicate, helps people really get what you're trying to communicate, your wisdom, your opinion, your words of healing, that kind of thing. Okay, so think of him as an amplifier of your communication. And another way that you could work with him kind of along those lines is, Archangel Michael, go tell my mother I love her. And you don't have to do anything. You don't have to pick up the phone. Okay. Messenger, communicator. Yeah, that's what he does for you. So have fun with him. Okay. Let's see. Savannah. Hi, Savannah. I'm recovering. The comment I'm reading about you is recovering from Christianity is a nice way to phrase it. All right. And I love your name too. Thanks for being here. I sure do appreciate it. Okay, hang on. Let me get. Okay, this must be another archangel or healing or ascended master, because they're right here and they're trying to move over me. The way we've seen some of the other readings. This one comes through in lavender. I'll tell you, a great stone would be lepidolite. Lepidolite would be a great crystal. And the fact that I even said that, I think you should get lepidolite. Yeah, because none of the other guides said, oh, amethyst or lapis. No, lepidolite. Let's see. Okay. This is a little bit like Ben's, if you were here at the beginning. A little bit different, though. Ben's wizard, Ted, helped him live in the magical world, right? This guide helps you stay spiritually connected throughout the day. Let me get its name. Oh, I love him. It's Adama. I love Adama. It's spelled Adam with an A on the end. If you wanted to Google him, I might put in the high priest Adama. He's Lemurian. I work with him too, and I think he's Jesus on steroids. That's what his energy feels like to me. But let's talk about spirituality. So in readings, when I first started reading and something would come up about spirituality, I'd be like, well, what's that? Like, the way my brain works, what do I add and subtract to get to be spiritual? What is it? So this is my definition, that when we're awake, we're connected to our guides and angels, we're connected to our higher self, and we're connected to the supreme being, whatever you think that is. Whether you think it's a being, an energy, the matrix, the force, source, I don't know. So what that means, Savannah, is that Adama connects you to your other guides and angels, connects you to your soul, your higher self, and up to the highest energy. So just by acknowledging him, working with him, talking to him, you're connected to your guides and angels. So I'll split the hair on this. He's not good at finding parking places, right? That's not his jam, right? He's very much a spiritual guide, not so much affecting the earth plane, but connecting you into those three sources. Okay. Now, let me talk to Ankiyaya for a minute. That's, if you hadn't heard, that's my healing master. Hang on. Let's see. Okay. If you have a spiritual practice, maybe you pull a card in the morning, you light a candle, you contemplate, meditate, pray, whatever, call him into that. And I would even ask him things like, Well, we already know lepidolite, right? But is there another crystal I should use today and just see what comes up? Or, should I go to Sedona if you're in the United States? Would a trip to Sedona be good for me? Right. And you could learn how to swing a pendulum to talk to him, or you could just let him mold you. Like if I'm you and I'm like, well, should I go to Sedona? Well, let me ask Adama. Adama, give me a sign in the next 48 hours if a trip to Sedona would be good for me, and then see what happens. Yeah. So Adama. All right, my friends. Thank you so much. Now remember the fourth Thursday of every month. Pop in. There'll be a different topic. If you want to watch some of the old archived videos, I uploaded them to YouTube because I think Facebook is going to ultimately delete them. So until next month, we'll call it a healing. And I can't be in this chair unless you're in that chair. So thank you so much for the opportunity. Bye.